Everyone saw a disabled girl sitting alone. Everyone except the janitor, who changed everything with a simple dance. No one knew a billionaire mother was watching from the shadows, her heart breaking and healing at the same time. Sometimes the smallest act of kindness becomes the moment that rewrites destinies. The cafeteria of Brookhaven Academy was always loud at lunchtime, laughter echoing, sneakers squeaking across polished floors, students shouting as they traded snacks or bragged about weekend plans. But in the middle of that noisy sea sat Maya, the only silent island in the room. Her wheelchair was pushed neatly against the table, her hands folded on her notebook, her eyes following conversations she could never quite enter. She was born with cerebral palsy, and though her mind was sharp, her body didn't always obey her. The students didn't mock her, they simply didn't see her, which in some ways felt worse. Today was worse than usual.
It was dance practice day.
The school was preparing for its annual spring gala, and posters of happy, able-bodied teens twirling in pastel costumes were plastered everywhere. Maya stared at them with equal parts longing and resignation. Who would ever want to dance with a girl like me? The thought visited her often, uninvited and unwelcome, but never failing to hurt. Across the room, Ethan Cole, the school janitor, was mopping a spill near the vending machine. He was tall, broad-shouldered, always wearing a faded navy uniform and a tired smile. Everyone knew him as the kind man who worked 2 jobs to raise his son Liam. What no one knew was how carefully he observed people, especially the quiet ones, the overlooked ones. He noticed Maya every day. He noticed how she flinched when students accidentally brushed past her, how her eyes lingered on the dance rehearsal announcement board longer than anyone else's, how she waited for anyone to sit with her. But today he noticed something else. A small tremble in her chin. The glossy shine of tears she refused to let fall. Ethan paused mid-mop. Not today, he told himself. She's not going to cry alone today. He set aside the mop, wiped his hands on his uniform, took a deep breath, and walked toward her table. Maya, he said gently. Her eyes widened. People rarely spoke to her unless they had to. Hi, Mr. Cole, she managed. You look like someone who could use a friend. She blinked, startled, then looked down as if trying to hide the emotion tightening her chest. I'm okay. He took a seat across from her. I know okay. That's not okay. She let out a small, shaky breath. He didn't push further. After a quiet moment, Ethan noticed her notebook slightly open, a sketch visible. Maya hurried to close it, but not before he caught a glimpse, a drawing of 2 dancers spinning under a chandelier. The girl in the wheelchair was smiling brighter than the moon above her. Is that you? He asked softly. Her cheeks turned red. Just imagination. It's beautiful. She bit her lip. It's impossible. Ethan smiled. Mind showing me something? He stood up slowly, moved a few steps back, and extended his hand toward her like a dance partner inviting a lady onto the floor. Her heart skipped. Maya, he said warmly, may I have this dance? Her breath caught in her throat. But I can't. Who says you can't? Dance isn't just about legs. It's rhythm, emotion, connection. He winked. And trust me, I'm used to dancing with a mop. You'll be a big upgrade. She giggled despite herself. Everyone in the cafeteria turned to look. Whispers floated. Some laughed. Some recorded on their phones. But Ethan didn't care, and he made sure Maya didn't either. He placed one hand lightly on hers. Ready. Slowly, he guided her wheelchair in a gentle, rhythmic motion, forward, back, a soft spin, another glide. With his free hand, he exaggerated graceful dance movements, twirling, dipping, stepping dramatically. Maya burst into laughter, real, loud laughter she hadn't let out in months. For the first time, she wasn't invisible. The cafeteria buzz faded around her as her world filled with warmth and motion. Her smile grew so radiant that people stopped whispering and simply watched, surprised and moved. But someone else was watching. Right outside the cafeteria doors, unseen through the narrow glass panel, stood Aurora Hayes, Maya's mother. To everyone else, Aurora was the unreachable billionaire CEO whose face appeared on magazine covers, whose empire stretched across countries. But to herself, she was simply a mother desperate to give her daughter a life that wasn't defined by hospital rooms, therapy schedules, and pitying looks. Today she had come unannounced,
Just to peek in.
just to see if Maya was okay. What she saw instead was her daughter dancing. Her breath hitched. Her heart stuttered. Maya wasn't just dancing, she was glowing. And the man making her glow, Aurora didn't know him.
But she was about to.
Because in that single, breathtaking moment, she realized something. This janitor had done what no amount of money ever could. He had given Maya joy, confidence, magic. And Aurora Hayes always paid attention to anyone who brought light into her daughter's world. A single dance can spark a miracle, but what follows can reshape entire destinies. The billionaire mom who watched from the shadows has made up her mind. She must find the janitor who made her daughter smile. Maya thought the dance was just a fleeting moment, but fate was already rearranging her life in the background. Maya couldn't stop smiling the rest of the day. Her cheeks hurt. Her stomach fluttered. Her hands trembled every time she replayed the janitor's silly, heartfelt twirls in her mind. For the first time in a long time, she didn't feel like the disabled girl everyone avoided. She felt like a girl who had danced. A girl who had been seen. After lunch, Ethan helped her tuck her notebook into her backpack before heading back to work. "Anytime you want another dance," he said, tipping an imaginary hat. "You know where to find me." She had giggled again, an airy, unguarded sound she didn't recognize as her own. But while Maya floated through the halls like she had swallowed sunlight, her mother, Aurora Hayes, was storming through the building with a very different energy. Aurora had left the cafeteria doors the moment she saw her daughter's laughter burst free, her own heart pounding with something unfamiliar, something warm, something almost painful in its intensity. She marched straight to the administrative office. "Excuse me," she said, her voice crisp and commanding, the same tone that made boardrooms fall silent. "I need a list of all custodial staff working today." The receptionist blinked rapidly, unsure whether to feel intimidated or starstruck. People rarely saw Aurora Hayes in person unless she was delivering a keynote speech, signing multi-million-dollar deals, or taking a photo for a business magazine. Yes, Ms. Hayes. Right away." But Aurora wasn't listening anymore. Her chest still buzzed with the image of Maya's face, lit with joy, alive with movement, free from the quiet loneliness she had carried for years. Who was that man? And how did he reach her in seconds when countless therapists, specialists, and expensive programs failed? She had to know. Meanwhile, back in the cafeteria, Ethan returned to mopping, pretending not to notice the lingering stares. Whispering students passed by him with curious smiles. "Mr. Cole, that was actually kind of sweet," one girl said shyly. "Yeah," another chimed in. Maya looked really happy. Ethan simply smiled, scratching the back of his neck. "Just doing my job." But even he knew it wasn't part of the job.
It was instinct.
Heart. Human decency. Something the world desperately needed more of. And the truth was, he understood loneliness. He remembered nights sitting with his son Liam, promising him things would get better, even when he wasn't sure how. He remembered helplessness. He remembered grief. Maybe that's why Maya felt so familiar, so in need of a moment that told her she mattered. Later that afternoon, as students shuffled to their next class, Maya wheeled herself toward the music room. She couldn't explain the sudden bravery that flooded her veins. Maybe it was the dance. Maybe it was Mr. Cole's unshakable confidence in her. Maybe it was simply that, for the first time, she didn't feel ashamed of wanting something more. She approached the dance practice window, watching the other girls rehearse the spring gala choreography. They twirled, leapt, and spun with synchronized grace. A few glanced her way, some with polite smiles, others with curiosity, but none with cruelty. Still, Maya's chest tightened. "I'll never belong in a room like that." She was about to turn away when a soft voice spoke behind her. "You dance beautifully." Maya froze. Slowly, she turned her head. Her mother stood there, elegant as ever, wearing a white tailored suit, her dark hair swept into a sleek knot. But her eyes were warm, softer than she had been in weeks, maybe years. Emma? Maya stuttered. Aurora crouched down slightly to meet her daughter at eye level. I saw your dance today. Instant panic flooded Maya's cheeks. You saw? But Mom, I wasn't. Mr. Cole was just, I wasn't even. Aurora placed a gentle hand on her daughter's cheek. It was the happiest I've seen you in a very long time. Maya swallowed hard. It was silly. It wasn't silly, Aurora whispered. It was beautiful. She brushed a strand of hair behind Maya's ear. Do you want to dance? Truly? Not just in sketches or dreams. Maya's breath trembled. Her lips parted. I do. Even if I can't stand. Even if I can't spin like them. Aurora nodded once. Then you will dance. And we will find a way. Maya's eyes widened, shimmering with hope. She didn't dare speak. But Aurora had already made her decision. She straightened, checked her watch, and exhaled with purpose. I'm going to meet the janitor. Maya's heart lurched. Mom, wait. Please don't make it weird. I won't, Aurora promised. But if someone has given you joy, I need to thank him. What she didn't say was, I need to understand him. I need to know why he cared. I need to know how he did what no one else ever could. As Aurora strode down the hallway toward the custodial office, heels clicking like drumbeats of fate, Maya watched with a mix of embarrassment, excitement, and fear. Because she knew one thing for certain. Her mother was a force of nature. And when Aurora Hayes set her sights on someone, their life always changed. For good or for bad. That remained to be seen. The billionaire mother finally comes face to face with the janitor who made her daughter smile, and nothing goes the way either expected. While Aurora searches for answers, Ethan fears one thing. Trouble always finds people like him. Destiny doesn't always knock. It sometimes arrives in a tailored suit and high heels. Aurora Hayes didn't walk. She glided, every step sharp with intention as she made her way down the east hallway toward the custodial wing. Students parted instinctively, sensing her presence like a weather shift. Some whispered her name. Others simply stared. To them, she was the glamorous business icon whose company's logo appeared on billboards and tech conferences. To her daughter, she was simply Mom. But to Ethan Cole, she was walking straight into the world of a man who never expected to cross paths with someone like her. Inside the small custodial room, Ethan was finishing paperwork for a supply order. He wasn't a man who scared easily, but when he sensed someone lingering at the door, he looked up and froze. Aurora Hayes stood framed in the doorway like a portrait. Elegant posture, crisp white suit, a presence that filled the space even before she spoke. Mr. Cole, she asked in a calm, controlled voice. Ethan blinked, unsure whether he should stand, salute, bow, or run. He finally settled on standing. Yes, ma'am, he replied, rubbing his palms on his uniform out of habit. I'd like to speak with you. Privately. He swallowed. Hard. Whenever people with money and power asked for private conversations with janitors, it rarely meant anything good. Of course, he said cautiously, stepping aside. Aurora walked in, her eyes scanning the cramped room, shelves stacked with cleaning sprays, rows of neatly labeled supplies, a faded calendar with notes scribbled in Ethan's handwriting. He wished briefly he had cleaned the place better. Then remembered he was the janitor. He cleaned everything perfectly. Aurora turned to him, her gaze intense but unreadable. Are you the man who danced with my daughter today? Ethan froze. Oh no. His heart jumped into his throat. His mind raced with the words, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cause trouble, please don't get me fired. He had dealt with angry parents before, students accusing him of interfering, principals telling him to stay in his lane. But before he could say anything, Aurora spoke again. Thank you. Ethan blinked. What? Aurora's shoulders softened. I said, thank you. He stared at her as if she had spoken a language he didn't understand. Aurora Hayes, one of the richest, most influential women in the state, was thanking him, a janitor, like he had saved the world. She took a breath and continued, her voice lower, more human. I saw my daughter laugh today. Not politely,
Not faintly.
but freely, like she hasn't in years. Ethan didn't know what to do with a sudden emotion in her tone. She deserves to feel seen, he said quietly. She's a wonderful kid. Aurora's eyes glistened for a split second before she blinked it away. You noticed that, she whispered. More than her teachers. More than her peers. Sometimes more than me. Not more than you, Ethan said softly. No parent sees everything. We just do our best. Aurora inhaled, studying him with new curiosity. Do you have children, Mr. Cole?
Yeah.
A son. Liam. 11.
Ah.
She nodded as though a puzzle piece had clicked into place. Then you understand. The room fell quiet for a moment. Two parents standing in a cramped space, connected by something deeper than class or status. Love for their children. Aurora stepped back slightly and asked, Would you be willing to meet with me again? I'd like to discuss something important regarding my daughter. Ethan's heart stuttered. Ma'am, I appreciate what you're saying. Really? But I'm just a janitor. I don't think I'm qualified to advise on anything important. You're qualified, Aurora replied firmly, because you saw her. You reached her. And that makes you more valuable than any expert I've hired. He shook his head, uncomfortable. Compliments from millionaires felt like traps. Aurora noticed his hesitation and softened her tone. I'm not asking for something complicated. I just want to understand what happened today and how I can help my daughter feel that joy again. Ethan exhaled. All right. If it helps Maya, I'll talk. Aurora smiled, a small, warm, almost relieved smile that transformed her entire face.
Good.
I'll arrange a proper meeting. Somewhere neutral. Somewhere neutral.
He knew what that meant.
Not in his world. Not in hers. Somewhere in between. Before he could overthink, the door opened behind her. And Mom, Maya wheeled into the room, cheeks flushed, hands gripping her wheels nervously. Maya, Aurora said, instantly gentle. I was just thanking Mr. Cole. Maya turned red. Mom. Ethan crouched beside her chair, smiling. Hey, superstar. Maya looked away shyly. I'm not. You are, he said softly. You lit up the whole cafeteria. Aurora watched the exchange closely, studying Ethan's sincerity, Maya's comfort, the unspoken trust forming between them. Something inside her settled. Something else sparked. Would you, Aurora began carefully, be open to helping Maya learn a form of adaptive dance? Maya's breath hitched. Ethan's eyes widened. I'm not a dancer, he stammered. I just spin mops and kids' dreams. Maya let out a tiny giggle. Aurora shook her head. You connected with her. That's more valuable than technique. Ethan looked at the girl whose eyes were shimmering with hope, and he knew he couldn't say no. Okay, he said. If Maya wants it, I'll help. Maya's smile cracked open like sunlight. Aurora's relief was palpable. And somewhere deep in the building, the threads of fate quietly knotted tighter, binding three lives that never should have intersected. But destiny had already chosen its path. And this was only the beginning. When a janitor begins teaching a disabled girl to dance, the world doesn't applaud, it questions, gossips, and interferes. Maya blossoms, Ethan worries, and Aurora must face a truth she's spent years denying. Sometimes healing comes from the most unexpected teacher and threatens those who fear change. The next week unfolded like a quiet miracle, one that neither Maya, Ethan, nor Aurora had anticipated. Every afternoon, after classes ended and the halls emptied, Maya wheeled herself into the old storage room beside the music wing. It was dusty, cluttered, and forgotten by most staff, but it had space, privacy, and a smooth floor. To Ethan, that meant it was perfect. On the first day, he pushed aside boxes, moved buckets, and cleared a makeshift practice area. Maya watched him nervously, palms damp, heart tapping fast. Okay, Ethan finally said, stretching his back. Ready for lesson 1? Maya swallowed. What's lesson 1? He grinned. We dance. She laughed, a soft, nervous sound, but she nodded. Ethan knelt beside her wheelchair. Rule number 1. You're in control. I follow your lead. Her eyebrows shot up. But I can't. You can, he said, tapping her hand lightly. Let me show you. He placed both hands gently on her armrests. You move forward when you want. Back when you want. Spin when you want. I match you. She hesitated, then pushed her wheels slightly. He mirrored her movement with a playful flourish of his arms, like a dramatic ballroom dancer. She giggled again. Within minutes, he had her rolling in gentle circles while he stepped in rhythm around her, sometimes twirling, sometimes dipping, sometimes adding silly footwork that made her laugh until her ribs ached. It wasn't traditional dance. It wasn't polished or elegant, but it was beautiful. It was theirs. And each day, Maya glowed a little brighter. But joy never arrives without shadow. By the third day, students started noticing the janitor disappearing into a storage room with Maya after school. Rumors fluttered in whispers. Is he giving her private lessons? Why would the janitor teach her dance? Did the school approve that? Maybe he just feels bad for her. Some whispers carried curiosity. Others carried jealousy. A few carried disdain. Maya heard some of them as she wheeled past the lockers, but she kept her gaze fixed forward, repeating Ethan's words in her mind. Dance isn't about what they see, it's about what you feel. And what she felt was happiness. Real, rare happiness. Aurora, meanwhile, watched everything closely. Each evening, she came home late from work to find Maya sitting in her room replaying the day's movements, her hands gesturing through the air, her smile soft but bright. Good practice today? Aurora would ask gently. Yes, Maya always answered with a shy glow. Aurora found herself lingering outside her daughter's door, fighting a mixture of awe and guilt. Because for years, she believed she had protected Maya by sheltering her from judgment, from disappointment, from failure. But watching her daughter now, alive, expressive, filled with new confidence, Aurora realized she had been protecting Maya from chances she deserved. And the janitor. The janitor had given Maya what Aurora never could. Freedom. On Friday afternoon, Aurora decided to visit the school early. She waited outside the storage room, listening. Inside, she heard Maya laughing, a rich, genuine sound. Then Ethan's voice. Okay, Maya, now imagine this is a ballroom. Chandeliers overhead. Music swelling. And you're the star of the night. Maya's laugh softened. Do you really think anyone would choose me as a star? Yes, Ethan said without hesitation. Every time. Aurora's heart squeezed. She pushed open the door slightly, quietly enough to watch without interrupting. Maya was moving her chair in graceful, intentional patterns while Ethan guided from the side, matching her rhythm, creating a duet of movement. He wasn't treating her like someone disabled. He wasn't pitying her. He was respecting her, letting her lead, letting her shine. But something else tugged at Aurora's attention. It was Ethan. His expression held no performative kindness, no forced empathy, just sincerity. Genuine care. Patience carved from years of responsibility and hardship. Aurora stepped inside. Both turned. Mom, Maya squeaked, flushing. We were just... I saw, Aurora said, smiling softly. And it was wonderful. Ethan scratched the back of his neck. We're just practicing. Maya's doing all the hard work. Aurora approached them slowly. Mr. Cole, may I ask something? Of course. Would you consider helping Maya prepare a piece for the spring gala? Silence. Maya froze, eyes wide. Ethan blinked like she had suggested climbing a mountain barefoot. The gala, he echoed. In front of the whole school? Yes, Aurora said plainly. Why not? Maya's hands shook. Mom, I can't perform like that. You can, Aurora said. I've seen you. Ethan rubbed his forehead. Ma'am, I appreciate the thought, but I'm not a real dance instructor. You're exactly what she needs, Aurora replied. Her voice held certainty, not pressure, not force, just truth. Ethan looked at Maya. Her eyes were shimmering with a mixture of fear and yearning. Do you want to? He asked softly. She bit her lip. Her voice came out in a whisper. Yes. Ethan exhaled. Then, I'm in. Maya gasped. Aurora smiled, and the air between them filled with something indescribable, hope, possibility, and the beginning of something bigger than any of them understood. But outside the door, someone else was watching. The vice principal, her expression tight, her eyes sharp, and her mind already forming words Maya would soon dread. A janitor has no place teaching a student, especially not a special needs one. Trouble had arrived, and it was only getting started. The vice principal steps in, not to help, but to tear apart the fragile happiness Maya has found. A janitor, a disabled girl, and a billionaire mother stand against a system built to doubt them. The spring gala becomes the stage where truth, courage, and love collide. The following Monday began with a storm, not of thunder, but of authority. Ethan arrived early, sweeping the East Wing floors, humming softly to himself. He was thinking about Maya's progress, the shifts in her confidence, and the surprising peace he felt helping her. He didn't expect peace these days, not after years of raising Liam alone, juggling bills, and fighting the quiet weight of exhaustion. But then the intercom clicked. Mr. Ethan Cole, please report to the vice principal's office immediately. His broom paused. His chest tightened. That voice, that tone, he knew it too well. Trouble. He cleaned his hands, straightened his uniform, and made his way to the office. The vice principal, Ms. Barrett, sat behind her desk, a rigid woman with thin lips, sharper eyes, and a personality carved from rules rather than empathy. Mr. Cole, she said without a hint of warmth. Please sit. I'll stand, he replied quietly. Her eyes narrowed. Very well. I'll be direct. I've received concerning reports about your interactions with a student. Maya Hayes. Ethan's shoulders tensed. We've been practicing adaptive dance. With her mother's full permission. Ms. Barrett steepled her fingers. Regardless of parental consent, your role here is custodial. Not educational. Not instructional. And certainly not extracurricular. Ethan clenched his jaw. I'm not doing anything inappropriate. I'm not suggesting you are, she said evenly. But appearances matter. Liability matters. Power dynamics matter. Ethan felt heat rising in his neck. You think I'm taking advantage of her? I think, she replied calmly, that a man in your position should not be alone with a vulnerable student behind closed doors. He flinched. Not because he was guilty, but because of how easily the world assumed things about men like him. Single fathers. Blue-collar workers. Men without status to defend themselves. I'm teaching her to dance, he said, voice low. That's all. And that is precisely the problem, Ms. Barrett said, folding a paper. Effective immediately, your after-school sessions with Maya are terminated. If you continue, you will be dismissed. The words hit him like a physical blow. You're punishing Maya, Ethan whispered. You're taking away something that makes her happy. Her happiness is not the issue, Ms. Barrett snapped. Protocol is. A quiet, freezing silence took hold. Then a new voice cut through the doorway. Protocol, Aurora Hayes said, stepping inside, must never stand above my daughter's well-being. Ms. Barrett stiffened. Aurora's presence filled the room like a rising tide, elegant, fierce, impossible to ignore. I wasn't aware you were joining us, Ms. Hayes, the vice principal said, trying to hide her discomfort. You weren't supposed to be, Aurora replied. But when someone tries to clip my daughter's wings, I tend to appear. Ethan exhaled shakily. Relief and worry mingled inside him. Aurora moved closer, her gaze cutting clean through the tension. Mr. Cole has my full permission to teach Maya, she said. And if you attempt to remove that for the sake of bureaucratic rigidity, we will escalate this conversation to the school board. Ms. Barrett blinked. Ms. Hayes, I respect your concern, but there are boundaries. Boundaries? Aurora interrupted. My daughter finally found a reason to smile. To move.
To try.
And you want to shut it down because it doesn't fit neatly inside your checkbox form? Ms. Barrett flushed. I'm trying to ensure professionalism. Aurora smiled, a cold, controlled smile that belonged to a woman who built empires. Professionalism, she said, is recognizing when something is helping a child, especially a child who has fought the world simply to exist in it. Ethan watched in awe and gratitude as Aurora stepped closer. "If Mr. Cole is removed from my daughter's practice," she said quietly, "I will remove my financial contributions to this institution." Ms. Barrett paled. Ethan's eyes widened. Aurora's voice dropped to a razor-soft whisper. "And I will not hesitate." After several tense seconds, Ms. Barrett cleared her throat. "Very well, but the sessions must remain supervised." A door open. Visible. Aurora nodded. "Agreed." Ethan nodded too. "No problem." "Then we are done here," Ms. Barrett said, defeated. Aurora turned to Ethan. "Come," she murmured. "We have a dance to prepare." 2 weeks later, the spring gala arrived. The auditorium buzzed with excitement. Parents taking videos, students adjusting costumes, teachers ushering groups backstage. Maya sat in her wheelchair behind the curtain, hands shaking. "I'm scared," she whispered. Ethan crouched beside her. "That's what being brave feels like," he murmured. "You ready, superstar?" She nodded, tears in her eyes, but fire in her heart. When the curtains lifted and the music swelled, the room fell silent. Maya rolled forward, slow, steady, graceful, then spun her chair in a sweeping arc as Ethan danced beside her, matching her rhythm, following her lead exactly as he promised. Gasps filled the room. Whispers. Then, applause.
Loud.
Genuine. Overwhelming. By the final movement, Maya's smile shone like a sunrise. Aurora stood in the front row, hands clasped over her heart, tears falling freely. When the performance ended, the audience rose to their feet in a standing ovation. Maya covered her mouth, overwhelmed. Ethan wiped his eye and pretended it was dust. Afterward, Aurora rushed backstage, gathering her daughter into her arms. "You are magnificent," she whispered into Maya's hair. "Absolutely magnificent." Maya trembled with joy. Then Aurora turned to Ethan, her eyes soft, grateful, almost emotional. "You changed her life," she said. Ethan shook his head.
No.
"She changed mine." Aurora didn't look away. "Not this time. Not anymore." "Well," she murmured, "maybe we changed each other." And for the first time, Ethan believed it.